Hey everybody, happy Friday!
Happy Friday!
Happy Friday! Yeah. Hey everybody, we are down here at the community building. We're getting ready for the Freeman Festivus for tomorrow. And I'm joined by the Festivus crew. We have Randy and Ralphie from Christmas Story next. And Jet and Indiana are here. And special shout out to Lou, Scott, Nikki. Did I forget anybody else? Oh yes, and Jess from American Roots, who have helped put this all together, and we'll get busy at it tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
You guys got anything you want to talk about for the Festivus before we start talking about good news?
I hope everybody's practicing their karaoke.
Yeah, come with the duet. Duets are fun. We got 2 microphones. We can have all kinds of fun with that.
Does that mean you two are going to do a duet?
Sonny and Cher.
Are you guys?
I'd like to
You
talk
have a
about
bucket I can carry.
We can arrange that.
Yeah.
No.
You do. Done. Okay, so they're up. Duet, you two?
Yep, make it happen.
Let's do.
Record it.
How about you guys
I'm
do
the
like
MC.
Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder? One of you guys would be Ebony and the other would be Ivory.
Yep. So everybody, I'm not going to go through all the comments and all that stuff. So we're just going to talk about the world today and what's going on in the world and the Festivus and all of that kind of stuff. But just know this: we love you guys and welcome everybody who's in here tonight. And anyway, so we're just going to kind of get on with it. I thought tonight we would just take some time to talk about the State of the Union, because as you guys know, this world is a crazy place today. There's weird stuff happening everywhere. But I want to really encourage you guys as we go through this to understand that we're all at a different place of discovery. Every one of us. None of us know the right way. None of us know 100% of the truth. We're all trying to figure out the truth as we go along too. And you know, if I look back at the way I believed things 10 years ago and the way I believe them today are very vastly different. Yeah. And so that's just part of that growth, you know, kind of as you go through it. We were talking about 9/11 earlier, and you know, when 9/11 happened, right there at that moment, you know, every Muslim in the world was my enemy. But as I learn more and I understand more, I don't think it's quite that simple.
Nope.
You know, I think it's way more complex than that. But anyway, I'm not going to spin off on, you know, that tangent tonight. So let's start talking about economics. I want to share a story with you guys from this week. B and I went to my mom's house because we got her a hospital bed. She's having a real hard time walking, you know, she can't really get up. And so we needed to get her a bed. It'd help her out a little bit better. So we get done. I disassemble her bed, put her new bed in, all of that, haul her old bed out, put it in the truck. And she says to me, "Can I buy you lunch?" And I said, no, it's fine. She said, I said, "Mom, save your money. It's fine." She said, "No, I would really like to buy you lunch." I said, "Fine. Okay, you can buy us lunch. Where do you want to buy us lunch at?" She said, "I want Burger King." I said, "Okay." I said, "Okay." So me and B went and drove to Burger King, and we got 4 value meals. And the bill was $67. $67.
Wow.
So if you look at through the math of this, someone working at minimum wage would have to work 9.5 hours. So 25% of their 40-hour work week to buy 1 meal for their family,
Sounds like a deal to me.
right?
Out to dinner.
At $12 an hour, it's still 5 hours of the day. And so I would like to hear from all of you guys. How are young people, how are anybody who isn't already set, right? Who doesn't have a retirement, how are they supposed to make it? I mean, we can talk about going and working hard. We can talk about doing that all you want. But the system is, in my opinion, is completely predatory.
So here's a question for you.
There you go.
Did you run the matrix on what it would cost you to go and purchase that food and go home and make it? And then do the real cost, like, is it a luxury that you're just getting to go and have dinner or whatever lunch at Burger King, and you're paying that premium? Well, then cool. Then you can say that the younger kids could survive better because they can go and buy the food and make it themselves for a lot less. So what is the real cost for them to feed themselves versus going out to?
Okay, but I'm not talking about going and eating at the McGraw-Hill Steakhouse in Times Square. I'm talking about Burger King.
The place you work.
I mean, another
Working there, you have to work a full shift just to get
Right.
a meal
A
for your family.
Right.
And you have time for nothing else.
For
There's
one
no money
day.
left to pay taxes.
For one.
You're right.
for one-
except they get their taxes before you get to eat.
Right.
So,
But you still have to pay your tax on the meal.
yes.
Uh,
Yes.
And you're assuming that that's before tax though. what's left for them to, buy after they're already taxed?
Yeah.
And then they get taxed again on that meal.
Yeah.
By the time you take tax on the equation, is it only 9.5 hours?
No, it's
or is
probably
it
11, 12.
They got to get their cut.
It's probably 30% by the time you get there.
So I just went and grabbed your mom's groceries and she wanted ground turkey and, ground turkey meat, ground beef meat, and chicken breast. So I got her the pack of chicken breast, put it in the cart, grabbed the ground turkey, put it in the cart, and I went to grab the ground beef and I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. So I called her and I was like, okay, so here's what I have available. I have the 75% lean. She's like, no, I don't want that. I have the 85% lean. She's like, okay, what else? And I was like, the 93, which is what I typically get her. She says, that's the green package. I said, yes, that's the green package. I said, but 4 pounds is $29 and some change. And she goes, get me 2 turkeys. She's like, I am not paying that. It was $6.70 something cents a pound. And she goes, I don't want to have the 70% lean. And I said, she goes, what is the cost of the 70? And it was still like $5.99 per pound. And she goes, no, I would just rather have another package of the turkey. And the turkey for 3 pounds was $15.80. So
Turkey burgers are great.
It's almost
Yeah.
the same price, so it's getting up there.
yeah. And she says, gosh, just to stock up, which it is still like, 2 packs of ground turkey, 1 pack of chicken meat, chicken breast that she can break down into like 5 meals. It still doesn't fill her freezer. This is supposed to be a month's worth of groceries for her.
Mhm.
And it was $200 and no prescriptions on this one. So
For one person
for one person,
that doesn't eat a lot.
yeah,
Well, and you take that even further. So here's somebody who's on Social Security,
Yeah.
Fixed income.
worked their
$900
entire
a month.
life, $900 a month,
$960 something.
right? And contributed their entire lives.
Yep.
And her rent's $370.
No, her rent is up to like $680
Good.
for a 1-bedroom in the low income housing.
So how do people do it?
And she still pays electricity. She still pays her cable. These are on top of her $680 for a 1-bedroom.
Yeah. So I don't think the answer is just go work hard.
Mhm.
And how do you work yourself out of that? At 70 years old.
You're gonna wind up with roommates. You're 70
Right.
In a 1-bedroom.
in a 1-bedroom.
You're gonna have a bed in the living room and a bed in the bedroom,
Yeah.
or bunk beds.
Stepbrothers, basically. So much more room for activity.
I think it goes back to also that families previously would cohabitate.
Mhm.
So you had multi-generational families on a property or in a house or in a farm. Even if you lived in a brownstone in New York or Boston or whatever it was, you still had multi-generational families. And we've gotten to that point where everybody has to have their own place and their own space. And I think we're going to see a big resurgence. We have already
Right.
of multi-generational living. So that you can work together to afford the food and to afford that. And then, and get back to that agrarian lifestyle.
ADUs for that specific purpose have actually made a comeback here in this county, which I'm not always a fan of everything they do, but when they said, hey, we're gonna let people start building ADUs,
Yeah.
all
What's
about
the ADU?
auxiliary, accessory dwelling unit. So like a mother-in-law house or something of that nature that's smaller than the original house that can still be built on the property.
Mhm.
So they've allowed those, which is great because that allows for that, in-law. or-
Aging parents
aging parent, whoever
or,
moved back.
somebody, a child.
So we're going to get forced to live back in this lifestyle while our government sends $700 billion to the Ukraine. Did I get this right?
Yeah.
So we're the ones that are going to take it?
Yep.
So exciting.
Yay.
And unfortunately, it's been happening for years. We are just becoming more aware of it now
Yeah.
than previously because we're getting to that point, I think, where a lot of us are just fed up with it. But if you look historically at how many hundreds of millions of dollars go to foreign aid and pet projects and ... asterisk items.
I think it's crazy that the counties and the cities and the states and the government thinks that they can just keep taking and taking and taking, and we'll just shrink our lifestyle and shrink our lifestyle and shrink our lifestyle and shrink our lifestyle.
Do you have a choice?
Well,
You
you
do.
absolutely do.
And that's
It's
what-
just a choice isn't a good one.
and that's unfortunately, I think, where the people are going to get fed up enough. And look what's been happening here just in Jackson County with the people
Mhm.
standing up and saying, no, we don't want this and we don't want that. And we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to remain silent. We're going to look up the laws. We're going to attend meetings. We're going to record them. We're going to put this out there and gather more and more people and make everybody aware.
Yeah, I think that the number of people who are involved is only going to increase as the heat turns up.
Yeah.
So it's going to be natural. There's going to be some people that are so far removed from it, it's going to take them another year or two of, and they'll wake up eventually. But the more that they continue to escalate things, the more people are going to get upset. It's just a natural way.
We're seeing pockets all over the country too, you know, Brody and I were talking about Texas and Tennessee and Georgia. There's like places in different parts of the country that are doing the same thing that's happening here in Jackson County. Different scales, but good.
Yeah, there's actually 12 states that have active lawsuits against, in 12 states, not 12 states. In 12 states, there are active lawsuits against the appraisal process, against the, what do they call that? The
Absolutely.
evaluations
Scam.
that are actively going on, right now. But I think it's crazy to think that we can go and sue them and the people on their team will handle the case. And the outcome will be what, right? I mean, how do you beat somebody when they get to write the rules to the game, right?
Conflict of interest.
Oh, you think? You think? Yeah, it's completely insane to me. Mike, you and I were talking about home prices versus income, right? We talk about predatory systems. You said start earlier. How do you start earlier when the system's predatory?
I think that it comes to, we've talked about this before on another live that we did at our house, was it starts in how you raise your kids. And when you teach somebody that their time is their most valuable asset that they have, and when you go and exchange your time for a dollar bill, make darn good and sure that you spend that dollar wisely because it costs you your time. And when we rewind, when we go back, we can't go back and fix the problem from before, but as we go forward, we can fix it if we start to teach the value of the dollar, value of what you traded for it, how you spend it, and what you're willing to compromise for. I talk with my kids all the time about their jobs, their promotions, their negotiations, and so forth. And as we rationalize with what they're going to accept for an offer, they're bargaining, they're selling off a portion of their life to somebody else in exchange for currency,
Energy capital.
whatever we're going to call it.
So what role does the deciders have in ensuring that the dollar has some value? Because you talk about trading it for that, doesn't the system have some responsibility in that?
They're basically dictating what you get in exchange for your time by setting the value of the dollar.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So how, at some point it is the person's responsibility to go out and exchange their energy, right, in commerce. But at some point, if they exchange and exchange and exchange and exchange all their energy and their energy ain't worth nothing, what's the point?
Well, again, I think that it comes down to, I watch people that are mailmen retire with millions.
Right.
And I've watched people that make millions retire with nothing. And so again, it comes down to personal accountability for how we manage our lives, because I think everybody sitting here has got a roof over their head, warmth, food, everything that we need, and a path forward. It didn't come from working at a fast food place our whole life,
Right.
And making that minimum wage. It came from
Smart
leveling up, continue to level up. So as we teach leaders to become leaders, and we raise up the next generations to come, this is how we beat it. And they know this is how you take it down. And so what do? They go to the institutions and they attack the youth because they know if they can get them there, then they got no chance at having strong people stand for themselves in the future.
Right.
And we're countering back with that by people like Charlie Kirk that go out and say, hey, let me get you to think just a little bit about what's going on here, because they're not teaching you to do this. And it also should start in home. And so I call every parent to the table to say, do your best job that you can do with your kids, because it matters. We're dealing with the problems right now of people that stuck their head in the sand. Don't raise another generation to do the same thing.
So you think that the opportunity to be successful today is the same as the opportunity to be successful when you were coming up? or when I was coming up, or when you guys were coming up?
I think it's available in a different way. I think the matrix has changed significantly, but I think that it's available in a different way. And I also think that it's available in the same way because I look around at the trades and I see the lack thereof, and the fact that we brought so many people across the border to come in and build our houses and so forth, because we didn't have the workers to do it, or we just couldn't get a lazy generation to get up off their butts and stop taking their free money to go out and earn it the hard way, that we had a shift. So if the immigrants can come over here and make a decent amount of money and send it back to their homes, it's because they want it. It's because they're crossing the Rio. They're doing what they got to do to come and earn it. And so there comes the competition. Are you willing to fight for it? And that's how we built industry, was because of people in that race. So that's how we could put a man on the moon, was a race to see who could get there first. Are we being competitive enough, or has our government made us lazy by incentivizing us too much to say it's easier for you to stay at home during COVID and collect a paycheck than to go out and go to work? Here's your free money.
So there's an interesting dichotomy in that, right? Because you've got the people that will come from foreign countries and they're willing to work for less, because when they spend $1 back home, it goes further.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's kind of what I meant by, does the government have a role to ensure that the dollar has some level of value? Because Mike, I'll tell you, when I was young, my very first job, I worked at Burger King. You know, it's interesting, we're talking about Burger King tonight. I made $1.95 an hour. Okay, at $1.90. This is a true story.
Did they pay you pennies?
No, but I got free food. But anyway,
Did you commute on Santa Maria?
I didn't. I didn't. And I didn't use horses or drawn carriages.
He had to go out there and carve his own wheel.
But I can tell you guys, at that wage, I went to school full time, worked at Burger King, and paid my own apartment. And I lived. If you look at what we just experienced going to Burger King today, is that opportunity the same?
Okay, so let's redo the math. How long
Yeah,
would
there
it
you
have
go.
taken you to buy that meal for your family of 4 on your wage?
I don't remember what it was back then. I got, you know, what's actually funny is I subsidized our food budget by Burger King. Right. I was there for 8-hour shift. 2 of my meals came right there. When my sister would come in, because it was just me and my sister at the time, when she would come in, I would feed her at Burger King too. That was 2 of our meals a day. But the point that I'm making is I still paid for an apartment and an electric bill. You look at somebody, you know, minimum wage in the state of Kansas is $7.25 an hour.
Wow.
Okay. So even at, let's say, $12 an hour, the average rent in our county in an
Like
apartment.
$800-900.
Okay. So let's call it $1,000 because you can do the math quick.
After you pay bills,
Okay.
easy.
Easy, $1,000.
Yep.
So what's $12 an hour times 40 hours a week?
$12 an hour
Yeah.
times 40 is $480.
So basically what that means is you're using 2 weeks of your monthly paycheck
To pay just your
to just pay for your home. No food, no nothing, no any of those kind of
no
things.
fuel, no.
Right. And it's funny, if you ask the government what your housing costs should cost, right? We're talking to someone with good credit.
Right.
You look down that math, your housing cost should not exceed 30% of your income.
Already out.
You're already at.
So here's your answer. For 1972, a burger, fries, and Coke at McDonald's was 55 cents. Fries and a Coke. It says the burger was 20 cents, which is probably the basic burger, not their grande Big Mac. The Coke was the fries were 20 cents and the Coke was 15 to 20 cents. So 55 to 60 cents. And if you were making $1, what?
He
95,
he wasn't
$1.95.
working in
In
1972.
72, I wasn't even born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I say that out loud?
What year did we say this was?
Oh, goodness. This would have been in like 80.
1940.
No, it'd have been in like 88, 89.
How much was a burger, fries, and Coke in 19?
That's when I started working. Yeah, it'd been 87 or 88.
Oh
Something
my
like that.
gosh, that was old.
Okay, it's $1.88 to $3 on average there. So we'll call it $3. It would have been close to 2 hours, hour and a half of your time, as opposed to how many hours did you calculate?
9.
9 hours.
That's what I'm talking about. That is opportunity equal. Because this person working at Burger King has to work 9 hours for the same meal. right? That I would have to work. They said, what, $1.88 to $3?
Yeah.
So let's just call it $2. And I was going to buy 4 meals, 2, 4, 6, $8.
Not to mention, imagine what the ingredients were back then versus what they probably are now.
Right.
And the fact that the fast food
Burger.
restaurants and stuff are not meant to be a living wage. Those are meant to be
Mhm.
for
Kids.
college
Right.
students, high school
I worked
students.
fast food in high school. I
Yeah,
wasn't living off of that. There's no way.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I did.
well, you did because you
But I
left earlier. Yeah, exactly. So it's different than, people now trying to live off of working at a fast food restaurant.
You'd have to have multiple people that work there living in the same place.
Yeah.
So does community play any role in helping those young people get off and headed in the right step?
Absolutely.
Because they're not going to do it alone.
Yeah, mentorship is huge.
I watched that
Guidance is
today.
huge. You got to be able to have somebody who can set the right path. So when you leave Burger King and you got your paycheck, you're not going and blowing it on, nicotine or whatever else. I don't know what are kids into these days?
Tide Pods?
Tide Pod, they're not, you're not just going out. and-
They're over that one,
Oh,
right?
they're over that one? Okay, I don't know. Anyway, I think it
Fidget
actually,
spinners, is that still a thing? I don't know.
Cabbage Patch dolls. I watched one of the community kids today feed chickens, wrangle goats, help do that with hoof trimming. And so that child is learning those skills. And then, hey, I'm going to go collect eggs and do those things. So it's absolutely possible. We see the other kids earlier this year when we were working in the food forest, neighbor kids, community kids come over and help us weed and haul stuff, and they learn how to use tools. They got up in Mario had them up in the attic fishing pipe stuff and do things like that. Like that's how they learn is being involved.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk about how these generations that are coming up are just lazy, and I don't buy, but
That's what every generation says about the upcoming generation.
right,
Our music is terrible.
right. I know a lot of hardworking kids.
Yeah.
When you got a young man who comes out to your place to work, that's a hardworking kid, right? I mean, so I don't buy all of that. David Strom had a really interesting comment in here that I thought I'd share with you guys, which was, do politicians keep minimum wage low for immigrants? That's a really great question because obviously the answer is no, right?
Double-sided, because I can guarantee you that there's immigrants that are here that aren't even earning minimum.
You think?
Absolutely, because they're under the
Well, I guess
radar.
I wouldn't know because I don't know how the big farms work and all that stuff.
They're already,
I think that they would do that within themselves amongst their, like if I was illegal and I hired some other illegals, or if I was legal but barely and I hired some others, then you could kind of run it more like a Gestapo type of thing. But I think the illegals that I've encountered from California to here are they're darn proud of themselves, and sometimes I'm flabbergasted at what they ask for a wage, and they're after a while becomes almost a sense of entitlement of you can't do this without me, so you're gonna pay or else. And I say, okay, or else I'll go figure out plan B.
On our last property, that was the case when we were having all of our trees trimmed, when we were getting ready to list it. The tree trimmer brought in, he's like, okay, you have to pay X dollars and you have to provide them meals. So I need to feed them breakfast, lunch, and a snack, make sure I have all this stuff ready for them, and then pay them, what was it, $18 or $20 an hour to haul brush and stuff. And I'm like, okay, and they're not gonna pay taxes on any of it, and I have to, that was the tree guy came to us to negotiate that deal, and I was like, what?
I'm not paying 18 or 20 an hour for unskilled labor.
And
Well,
feed them.
not to mention it's under the table.
Yeah, so there's no
And so
taxes or anything being
that's-
paid
They're
on it.
asking for.
Yeah,
Of course, I'm a law-abiding citizen and everybody gets a 1099 at the end of the day, but
Ralphie speaks. Yeah, you know what though? I think there's another side to that too, which is you guys all know Tomas,
yeah.
right? Who's been here?
Yep.
I hired in this project of Life Done Free. I hired a bunch of local kids over the years to come out and work here and work here to there. Tomas cost me more money than any of them. And if I had to go back and pick one I was going to hire, I'd hire Tomas.
Right.
He was the best worker by far. I mean, it wasn't even close.
Yeah, we did concrete with.
Yeah. I mean, so
and that comes back to what I was saying earlier. What's your time worth? I don't mind paying somebody if they're worth it.
Yeah.
Legal, not legal, it doesn't matter. I think that if a man is done his job, then he's entitled to his day's wages. And for me to try and cheat him out of something or chintz him down when I can't get it cheaper somewhere else kind of feels a little dirty.
Yeah, but I think what David was saying in that question was more about how they've figured out how to work outside of the system, right? They're not working inside of the, if you only want to put a comment up there, put there.
I'm just looking.
Okay, yeah. You know, but anyway, I think what he was really saying is, you know, maybe they've found the parallel economy.
The parallel economy. What is
Right.
that?
They
What is
figured out
that?
how to work here, live here
Without that, the regulation and the, you know, without the, you know, all the things
Yeah,
that
but
we
then
have.
whose problem,
Maybe.
whose burden does that become? Because that parallel economy is if you're starving the system and you're not paying into it, but you're taking from the system. And that means, I don't care if you're just driving on the road, you're taking from the system.
Mhm.
If you're, you know, especially the medical and things like that they get, who's paying for that? Who's picking up the tab? You and I are. And-
Yeah, the taxpayers picking it up.
yeah, exactly.
But I think, again, I would go back to, we're doing it, we're the ones picking up the tab for everything. We're picking up the tab for the commissioners to have a new building. We're picking up the tab for the library to get an expansion. We're picking up the tab for Topeka. Just recently decided that all of this stuff going on and all these people struggling, they would remodel the convention center.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
I mean, I know, right? That's exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the Kansas City Chiefs, the
Yeah.
taxpayers are going to be
Yeah.
on the hook for $2 billion. And the negotiators for the state of Kansas were so awesome that they negotiated into the deal that 100% of the revenue belongs to the house.
Right.
Kansas gets none of the ticket prices, none of the sales, none of the food, none of the parking, none of anything. So you and me get to pay the bill. So I guess my point is, you say, who's on the hook? Well, the system is killing us anyway.
Completely broken.
We dealt with it in California when they put in toll roads, and we paid for all the toll roads to be put in, and then they were owned by private companies that charged us to drive on. So you get to pay going in and going out.
And
Yeah.
Caltrans still goes out and fixes them, all from the taxpayer dollar.
So new topic, let's talk about gold and silver. You guys have been following what's going on, right?
Gold and silver.
You guys own it?
You look good. You look good in gold.
Yeah, Ralphie's whole outfit's gold blinded.
It must have cost a fortune.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
Just-
gold?
Yeah, you know, specifically the price of silver has really skyrocketed. A lot of that because of, you know, the AI centers and because of technology and they need it in technology? Or is it something else, which is, you know, typically they talk about how precious metals don't gain in value. What it's showing you is the real value of the dollar.
I'd like to hear.
Yeah.
It depends on, I don't know as if it's the AI data centers and all that. I think it's the artificial manipulation of the dollar versus silver is what's really screwing stuff up. Because if you look at a laptop, right, there's not that much silver in a laptop. If you double the price of silver, that laptop price will not double. It's not even close. Solar panels, there's a bit more in them, but I think it's an issue of the dollar sliding against silver is the problem.
Why then would it be that 6 months ago it was half the value it is today? Like why it's like what's the trigger? But the dollar didn't like lose 100% of its value or 50% of its value in 6 months period of time. So why this sudden shift of silver doubling within 6 months?
Right. So what was it? Was it being artificially manipulated and suppressed?
Could be.
You know, was the market being flooded? So
I think if you look deeper into it, because it's not just the dollar, because if you look globally as to why it's happening, is you take a country like London who doesn't have any, London doesn't have any to let out anymore. China shut off any exports of silver, and if you want products made in China that require silver, you have to provide the silver because they won't export their metals anymore. So if that's just part of the hoarding game, which drives the price up, then it's more than just the U.S. that's on it.
Right.
And so it's more
competing interests.
Exactly. And when you look at what Shanghai's prices are versus what our prices are, Currently, there's about a $15 difference in valuation between the two. So could they just come over here and buy it up and then bring it over there and make $15 per ounce more by just transporting it from point A to point B, because we're still allowing export and things like that?
I guarantee you there's an investor that's already on that.
Oh, I'm sure there is, yeah. But then there's only certain players in that game that can play that game because
In volume, yeah.
because of what your financial numbers have to look like to be able to qualify to be one of those vendors. I look at the demand of it and been looking at it for a long time is why I feel like there's more to it than just, I agree with you about what's happening with the dollar, no question about it. I do think that the validity in the uptick in use for it is a real thing as well, though. And so as you guys look at like the projects that they're wanting to do here to turn Kansas into a solar farm and ship the power out to other places, just do the numbers of how big those fields would have been of solar panels, and you do the math on what it would cost to, in silver, how much silver would be used. And so when you look at the demand and what our deficit is about 300 million ounces of gold per year that we're short right now. So I'm sorry, million ounces, because we're requiring about 1.2 billion ounces to meet the needs of industrial supply right now. And we're only producing in the 850 roughly million ounces a year. So that 300,000 or the 300 million ounce deficit is now who has it? Spot prices don't matter anymore, because people, if they need it, they'll pay anything above spot to be able to have that, which is what's causing the price to go up. And soon the paper side of that's going to turn to garbage when everybody finds out that their ratio is 356 to 1. That means 356 people are waiting outside the door for every 1 ounce of silver that they actually have stored away. Mm-hmm. And when they find out that that's a giant farce, it's going to change things dramatically. And now all they can do is just trade as though it's a stock price, and for dollars, which the dollars are not worth a ton. So
yeah, so I think you bring up a good point. Silver, and it's been proven many, many times, that silver, gold, and those metals are manipulated. Mm-hmm. The government has manipulated them, even all the way back into World War II, where they began to confiscate them, and it was illegal to own them. Mm-hmm. So can you actually put any weight at all in any of it anyway? Because if they can manipulate it to hold it down, they can absolutely manipulate it to raise it. Yep. Same game, right? And so,
but they can't manipulate it to hold it. And if you are in demand, if it's in demand and you need it to make a car or a computer chip or a battery or any of those things, that's one thing that they can't pull out of thin air. And if you are holding on to it and they need it, the longer you hold on to it, the less time they have to play their game.
Most of it's industrial amount too that they're seeking, not, Bob and Sally have a couple of silver coins, buried in the backyard in a mayonnaise jar.
I just really question the $80 an ounce silver, the $70 an ounce silver. It rose so fast, so quick.
Exactly.
I mean, I really, really question it. So here's the magic question. We'll move on from gold and silver: is buy or sell?
Buy. I see.
It depends on what your goals are.
Yeah.
And how are you hedging your bets? Do you think that the dollar's going to get stronger and that silver's going to be worth less? Or do you think that the dollar's going to continue to weaken and it's going to become worth more?
Mm-hmm. I'm in the weakened category.
Right. So if you look at what an ounce of gold cost when I was in 6th grade, I remember for some reason doing a book report. It was definitely around $400.
Definitely around
$400. What is it now?
4,000 over
10x.
4,400.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say that there's little chance that the dollar is gonna wind up purchasing more silver anytime soon, right? But then the flip side is, why would I trade into dollars and why wouldn't I just trade into assets?
Yeah, I'm much bigger into buying assets, even though I would consider silver an asset, silver, gold an asset. But I'd rather have land than anything. But
silver's got a terrible caloric profile. It doesn't tide me over.
But you can trade it for some really amazing homemade bread and beef and things like that.
Which comes down to diversification. You don't have to have everything in silver. You don't have everything in land.
I think it's a manipulated issue. Mo was talking about this in the comments, and I would be leery of it either way. I'm not interested in buying any, but I'm also not interested in selling it.
Yeah.
Personally.
I'd rather talk to a man about a horse.
About a horse?
Yep.
Dude, that is the worst investment ever. Did you know?
He meant cow.
A cow is a much better investment.
South Poles, right?
A horse is a bill until you need it.
Depends on what part of the world you're in.
That's true. That's true. So do you eat horse?
I might have it sometime. Who knows?
Scotchy says, if you can hold, hedge, dollar getting weaker. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Which goes back to saying, the whole thing. Why is it going up? Because our dollar is worth less.
Mo said he sold 1,000 ounces of silver today. Yeah, so we know who's buying tomorrow.
I'm kidding. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, so let's talk about CBDC. So, the system's obviously the dollar's getting worse. So the only way that I can ever think of how they ultimately get out of this is through the CBDC, that it's brought on as an effort to reset the system, right? Because there's just no way we're $38 trillion in debt. If you count all the unfunded liabilities, you're $200 trillion in debt. It's just, I don't know how you ever get out of it, unless you can inflate it away, which is one way, or just replace it with a whole new system, right? Create a crisis. You know how they do that, right? Create a crisis. Here's how we fix it. Everybody applauds. The politicians go, oof, got away with that one.
Yep.
So you're going to share your thoughts on CBDCs?
I think it's interesting because on one hand, we kind of already have it. So anybody reaches into their wallet in this room, you're going to have digital currency in the form of a credit card. So you kind of already have it. And then if you think about it and you pull some money out on your ATM card, that's paper. It's really not truly worth anything. It's just a piece of paper. So we're kind of already there. I think that the only thing that the digital system is bringing in is getting rid of the ability for private parties to do transactions amongst one another privately, right? So if I wanted to come over and buy a chicken, Uncle Sam's going to know I bought something from you. They may not know what it's for, or maybe that's a requirement. You have to say, hey, we traded a chicken, right? Because then that way Uncle Sam can tax your chicken sale.
Well, you use the word traded, and technically you're already supposed to do that.
Right.
And I know all you people in the audience today have accurately logged your chicken trading estimate. I know you do.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Chicken
you're
math.
talking about.
Did you lose all your chickens in a boating accident?
I lost all of them. All of them.
Turns out they can't swim.
Trying to find my wallet and I can't get to it through all the layers of clothes.
You two got any thoughts on CBDC? No?
No.
No?
Kind of this along the same lines as his. They're already getting us used to it. I mean, I just pay bills and I'm just transferring money that, never is going to come into my hands. I mean,
You mean there's not somebody behind the scenes trading gold for the money that you're trading? No.
It's just numbers.
the numbers are just changing on the screen, and it's just going to be another way to not only keep track of transactions, but to control what we buy and what we sell.
And they're actually already starting to incorporate some of the systems that are going to be brought on more heavily when CBDC ends up going live and becomes, the way of the land. There are stores now that are doing spot pricing. So they'll track you on your cell phone. You're coming into the store. They know you're coming because you got the app, right? And then you show up to the store
Oh, that's crap.
and they have that little digital price tag on that good and service in front of you, right? And then as you walk up, their little cameras are tracking you because they have facial recognition. They say, "Oh, look, Timmy's a six-figure kind of guy. Guess what? Those 99-cent can of beans, we're going to charge him $1.99." And then you see that spot price of $1.99. You take it up to the register. You ring it up for $1.99. Now Timmy comes in. Timmy's a little bit, harder up. He's working at Burger King, so they know, well, we can't charge him more than 49 cents for this can of beans because he can't afford it. So he'll only pay 49 cents. Right, so that's already happening. There's tons of stories out on the line about that. They're interviewing companies and this has been going on forever. Target started it forever ago. Walmart got on board. Amazon's doing it. So,
Or with the digital price tags, what they do is they change the prices according to what time of day it is.
they do that in New York. If you go to an area in New York that's got a high tourist density during the day, they'll charge one price. And then after the tourists have left and the locals get off of work, they just reach behind the counter of the remote and click. They go back to their locals only price because they know the locals aren't going to pay the price if the tourists will pay it. So that's already happening. So I think that that's just going to become normal. And then when you do a live YouTube stream and you call them out, they're just going to go, oh wait, no, it's not for sale.
Mhm.
And they won't allow you to buy it.
Bias discrimination.
Back in the day, they used to trade like,
I'm not used to you being tolerant.
I know. They had people would get the food stamps and like trade stuff for food stamps, those little like coupon books. Now they're gonna like go use those coupon, or I guess it's on like card.
It's on card.
So they're gonna go use their card and they're gonna go get beans, and then they'll be like trading cans of beans for like,
black
oh, you
market
got a
economy.
watch? I got 4 cans of pinto beans.
Maybe you can talk about your thoughts on crypto then, as far as that goes, because how many pathways are there to the digital chip card, whatever, way forward? And I look at crypto and people that invest into it, and like, do you realize that when you're trying to push this agenda to make money off of it, that you're selling us out for our freedom to be able to just trade without being tracked?
Right.
Well, it's coming anyway. So, why not make money while it's coming? And I think that everybody that buys into that mentality is part of that problem.
Mo says an umbrella always costs more when it's raining in Taiwan.
Why'd you sell your umbrella, Mo?
Because it was raining. Yeah, I think that the whole cryptocurrency thing is interesting too. I don't play in the market a lot. I've owned some of it, but I don't really get into it a lot because I don't think the government will ever give up the power to the purse. Though I do find it fascinating that Trump has said things like, with Bitcoin, we're going to pay off the national debt. Quote. How do
Bitcoin or crypto?
he said Bitcoin. So the only way you're going to do that is by crashing the dollar
There's not enough money in Bitcoin to be able to do that.
today.
How many $1 trillion?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not what we have.
Not today, but again, with everything being digital and nothing being real, isn't it just a matter of an entry?
Yeah.
It's
It's
easier
not
to
tangible.
print. It's
You
easier
should
to
just
print
add
them.
another zero on the end. behind the
They don't
decimal
even-
point.
Zero.
They don't even
Zero.
print them anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
When we talk about people, the government printing money, there's some printing going on. Not really what's going on. They're adding zeros
Yeah.
to balance sheets.
He also said Mexico was going to pay for the wall, and they haven't done that yet either.
Oh, I could come up with 1,000 things he said was going to happen that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. So why put any stock in it?
Bitcoin is collectively traded at 2.37 trillion currently.
And wouldn't even pay off a third, a quarter, an eighth, a 20th of
An 18th?
Yeah.
20th.
Can you think of any holdings out there that are big enough to pay off the national debt?
Mm-mm.
Any class?
Any class?
Yeah.
Oil.
Did you know that if the government, if you open up IRS, manual and you go to section 401-K and you look at it, it talks about retirement, and there's $33 trillion in 401ks today.
I saw that.
So that'd be one way.
Take away people's 401k.
Well, stretch an IOU.
Well, if they say for the greater good before they do it, it's perfectly fine.
Right, for the greater good.
And is that FDIC insured? Well, we have 99 years to pay
Yeah.
back.
You have 99 years to pay you back, right? I imagine it'd just be an IOU.
Yeah, here's my IOU, and we have 99 years to pay back.
We're just gonna transition your 401k to Bitcoin
Well,
or to some kind of wallet. And we're gonna do this for your safety because we don't know, people are in the country, whatever, we're gonna blame something and then they'll just,
we saw that happen with CalPERS, the California Massive Pension. They took and invested a whole bunch of that money that the government employees get for their pensions and stuff in different companies that turned out to be not so good. And a lot of those people lost a lot of money on those investments.
Yeah.
Like, how can you take somebody's pension and invest it in a casino and feel good about it?
oh, but man, I can give you 100 examples of how can they do X and feel good about it.
No, it's just,
Right. How can they be sending all this money overseas? How can they be spending all this money on remodeling the White House? How can they be spending all of this money on all these things when there are people losing their homes because they can't be property?
because they quit caring along.
Because they don't care. Right.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, they just don't care. Exactly.
Which brings you to the point of why this is so important.
Mhm.
What's going on right here in your local area.
Well,
Or-
yeah, community is the ultimate solution. But that also
And fighting
creates,
back against the hegemony, if you will, of your local first.
Well, community is the lifeboat.
you can't fight back with that.
Right now, it's just the lifeboat.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think with community, you can shelter yourself from a lot of those things. Right? So if I don't charge somebody to go do work on their house and in exchange, they don't charge me, well, guess what? We both come out ahead because I've traded my energy capital directly with somebody, and Uncle Sam never got involved and never got to take a cut. Right? So that's one way where I'm just trading time for time. So if we team up on something, we can get it done twice as fast.
As far as community, I think of Kathleen because she was one of just a couple people that were fighting the solar
Mhm.
in her area,
Mhm.
and her diligence with going to the commissioners, filming there every week, and slowly more of the community got on board and got involved. And had it not been for her doing what she does and reaching out to the community and the community coming in together to,
Yeah. You know what? One of my highlights was after that, one of those solar meetings, I was walking out the door and Kathleen was walking out. We just walked out together. And I just looked over at her and said, "How do you feel? This is your baby." And dude, the grin. I mean, she had like,
She's like, I'm
Perfect
in
rhythm.
movies right now.
but she's proved too that it just takes one.
yeah,
It just takes
Yeah,
one.
exactly. To start that fire.
right.
Yeah.
I do think community is
That
the ultimate
difference.
answer.
Yeah.
It is. It allows you to fight together and it allows you to be able to stand up more. I promise you, Mike County listens a lot more to me because you guys are all here. They wouldn't listen to me as much, right? Because they know if they will pack a room.
Every member
Yeah.
matters too, even if you're sitting in the back of the room, not speaking, being quiet, but making a presence.
Right.
That all matters.
Mhm.
So don't, anybody that's sitting at home that thinks because you're not the spokesperson doesn't mean that you are not necessary in the fight. So give whatever you can give, even if it's just sitting in the back of the room for support.
Marjorie Taylor Greene recently came out and said, we need a gigantic tax revolt. Nobody pay their taxes. Did you guys read this?
I did see that.
You see this? Crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. But any of you guys think it's actually possible? That
No.
anything can actually be done there?
As far as property taxes?
Yeah, what she's saying is don't pay your taxes.
Yeah, of course. Don't pay your taxes because we'll come back and we'll take all of your property.
What a plan.
Right? So I think we know somebody who's currently
Going through that.
I wonder how many investors are backing her, making her message even louder so that people don't do it, and then they can just scoop in and buy their
I'm
property.
like, oh, we wanted that farmland so we
Yeah.
could put up a solar farm and windmills and AI centers.
We're just,
In theory, it could work if everybody did it at the same time.
it never happened.
But it'll never happen. Too many people are too comfortable and the water's not hot enough for them to jump out of that pot yet.
Yeah, they just recently here in our county, they auctioned off people's homes.
Yeah.
Right up underneath them.
And
And then they make rules too, when so if you don't pay your taxes and they come and they take your house, you cannot bid on it. Nobody in your family can bid on it.
And you don't get the equity. So if they turn around and sell, you owe $5,000 in taxes, but your farm is worth $500,000. You don't
Actually,
get
we
the-
they just changed that.
Oh, they
Yeah, they
did?
cut-
Yeah, 'cause
The Supreme Court just ruled that they
Okay,
can't do that no more.
that happens
Yeah.
in Arkansas to
Anymore.
my dad's neighbors, and
Yeah.
he did not
They
get
can't do that
Anymore,
anymore.
exactly.
Yeah, I think when was that? 2023?
23.
Yeah, 2023, the Supreme Court ruled that
God.
that was unconstitutional.
Good.
Yeah, and that they couldn't do it. You think anybody will take Marjorie Taylor Greene up on it?
There are people who are doing that.
Well, they
Believe it
say-
or not.
They say they are,
Right.
but how many do you really? I mean, you really think somebody will? I have a good friend who took a moral stand on property tax. Said I ain't paying it, and he's in the middle of losing his farm. So
Well, we had the
Yeah.
discussion earlier about, if you didn't pay your homeowner's insurance, would you take the money and put it into an account and at least have it there later on for the repairs that you might need to spend the money on it and just fund it yourself? The same would go with those taxes. Like if you were going to be that person to take a stance, don't just take your tax dollars that you were going to pay and go blow it on something. At least have it on the ready to be able to pay
Interest and
Right.
penalties too.
Well,
Right.
that's the part that you wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to account for in holding back is the interest and penalties. That's your risk factor. But if it takes a bold move like that to get the government's attention to say the people are done and this is what we've come to, so be it. I don't think that it would be a bad thing to have to. We vote with our dollars when we leave our states and the things that we do. We take our dollars with us and say, here, I'm take my dollars somewhere else. Why would it be any different for us to stop paying those taxes and say, okay, I'm going to vote with my dollars again and I vote you out. You guys are not funding you anymore.
So the crazy part is that is already baked into the system if it keeps going the way it's going. If the trajectory stays the same and the dollar continues to devalue and things become more expensive, and then all of a sudden people have a hard time affording food or their property tax bill, right?
Is that part of the you will own nothing?
Right. So at
Yes.
some point that's going to wind up being the case. I just don't think it's yet. So we're moving in that direction though. And if something doesn't happen, there's going to be a reality where people can't afford to pay their property taxes anymore.
Right.
People are just going to get fed up with it.
Yeah, Nito's is challenging that one of those points about digital currency. I just wanted to point out, he said digital currency is being pushed so they can just debit your account
Yep.
that you owe them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just take it,
Just take it.
automatic.
Right.
That's what the military does.
Yeah.
Already happening. That's what collections is for, right? They'll be able to do that and they'll be able to circumnavigate a lot of the legal rigmarole that costs them time and money.
What is the military, what are they doing?
They'll garnish wages.
For what?
So let me ask you
Depends,
this.
right? So if you get found guilty of, not having child support for like everybody else, they'll
Oh.
garnish wages. If you go to the base store and you buy something and you don't pay for it, they'll just garnish your wages, right? If they made a mistake in your pay, they'll garnish your wages. If you get in trouble, they'll garnish your wages. It's like, so the military already does that. The civilian side already does that. But with the digital currency will make it faster, make it more streamlined. And then the problem is that they start circumnavigating rules, right? And getting around the letter of the law. And that becomes a problem because now that money, you can't just pull it out of your account and protect it anymore. If you think that you're unjustly prosecuted, let's say they're going to pull money out, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to set aside $1,000 for my rent this month. I'm just going to go pull it out of cash. You can't do that anymore because it's digital. You can't hold on to it. That takes that ability away. It gives them more direct access to your energy capital.
We learned that with a couple of the property management companies that we worked for, that their rents, they do not collect rent in paper checks
Right.
or cash or anything. You
Debit.
have to go through an electronic system. And I mean, these were huge real estate companies that managed hundreds and thousands of properties. all
Because they
across-
got tired of people not paying the rent.
Mm,
So they said, we're going to go
Or
direct.
Right, bouncing checks.
And yeah, I'm like.
Yeah, Chris says we have to ask ourselves, how is it that we come to this point in time in our lives where we have to hear these kinds of crazy things?
It's because the system and the people that are in charge of the system let it happen.
Well, and people didn't do anything to stop it.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
it.
We haven't done
stand up
anything.
quick enough.
We haven't done anything to stop it since they started taxing
Right.
income in World War One.
Right.
And it's
That
never stopped.
As far as property taxes go, we're not gonna get out of paying them, but like what people are doing nationwide, they're going into their city councils and their commissioners to fight the raises in taxes that are coming from appraisals.
Mhm.
Arbitrary
Yeah,
appraisals.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day of what we started a Revolutionary War over 3%,
Mhm.
and where we're at on the taxation scale now, which you said is
59.
59%.
Mhm.
So 20x from where we had a Revolutionary War, and we're still yawning and waiting for the next increase.
Shit, I would say it's even worse than that, but it's not just the 59%. It's, we've got them poisoning our air, poisoning our water, poisoning our food, dumbing down our kids in schools. I mean, war is being waged on freedom and humanity on 100 fronts, and we do nothing. It's not taxes is one little piece of it. At least in
You might know the answer to this question, but are appraisals overall, is that set by a private company or is that by a public interest? What kind of rabbit hole did I just fall
I
into?
thought it was public interest, right?
I don't
I
know.
think so.
Yeah, appraisal values.
You're
It
talking
might
about
be
the
that-
investors?
So the appraisal values, the database that the county appraisers draw from, is that a a private company that has set up software and has set that value
I would say it's a
in a
private.
private market, or is that a public interest that came in and said, hey, this is what those values need to be because this is the value, this is the cost that is in the nation's best interest? Or is it a private company that goes, oh, well, if we jack up these appraisals, we can reach back around and go, hey, keep using us. We'll make sure your appraisal values are high so you can collect more taxes.
So you don't have to raise taxes. Right? Because I mean, our county,
Yeah.
tries to lobby on the fact they didn't raise property taxes. Because technically they didn't. They left the mill levy where it was, right? They were revenue
But they
neutral.
reassess.
They reassess the value, and when
Right.
you apply the same tax amount to that, taxes go way up. But our county will tell you that they should be rewarded because they didn't raise taxes.
But they still got more money.
Way more money.
Well, 123% on our front.
Did it make you feel special?
No,
You should have felt like royalty.
it didn't feel
It made
good
me
at all.
think that maybe I married royalty.
No, it didn't feel good at all.
You did.
Did I?
You did.
I did. Okay.
I did too. Your sister.
Indiana, and Jeanette, this question is for you. What do you guys think about the Pentagon just failing its 8th straight audit?
I'm not surprised. There's a pattern too big to fail. Ring a bell?
Well, no accountability.
There is none.
We talk all the time about freedom is nothing more than accountability. Right? But if we're the only ones holding ourselves accountable,
Well, it's actually kind of ironic that you say holding ourselves accountable, because if somebody held the Pentagon accountable, who pays the bill? What's the punishment? Right? So if somebody sues the county, I'm going to go sue the county. Cool. Who ends up paying that bill?
we do.
Suing ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're just getting somebody to say you're right.
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 Yeah, how do you get around not suing yourself?
Well,
Is it
you
even
can't-
worth it to sue
You
yourself?
can't just shut up and take it.
Well, except that they really prefer you did.
Well, yeah, but then that you just 123% every year at that rate, we are not going to be here long.
I found it comical. I was listening to some of the commissioners meeting minutes from not so long ago, and there's a local resident who said, hey, you can't make me get a building permit because it's agricultural and those types of things in the state. It's outside of your purview. You're not allowed to. They said, well, we're going to do it anyways. If they want to sue us, so be it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I never want to hear if they're going to sue us, then so be it from my commissioner, because that's coming out of my pocket. That's not the attitude I want to hear.
Yeah,
How about let's dig in and do more research first before we run our mouths and say, well, he's going to sue us and we'll just, it's fine.
Yeah.
So we have an insurance policy that's going to cover whatever that lawsuit is, and then our policy goes up next year, and then we just ask for more tax money.
Yeah, that's playing tough guy with other people's money.
Snake eating
Yeah.
its tail.
Garbage.
the government doesn't have money. They
No,
only have our money.
right.
That's exciting. So since we're talking about politics, do you think we can fix, do you guys think we can fix our problems at the ballot box?
It depends where, right? Which one? Because there's a lot of them, right? Locally, maybe. Nationally, no.
But do you think we can fix, do you think we can fix the problem sustainably locally with what's going on federally? Does fixing it locally ultimately fix anything, or is it just a Band-Aid?
It's more of a Band-Aid, but the thing is, if you got an open wound, I'd rather throw a Band-Aid on it and give it a shot than just leave it open and let all the gunk get in there. And, because why not position the county in a place where it's a little bit more resilient? Make it better for the people that actually live here, versus we'll just flush it all down the toilet, just go with it because that's what everybody else is doing. Let's go eat Tide Pods.
Is it pretty simple to be elected in as a county official?
Yes.
In these smaller.
Anybody can run, yeah.
Yeah.
There's very little requirement.
The margin is in hundreds,
Even
not
helps.
thousands.
Even else.
And you guys can be else. You guys can be from Christmas Story. And if you run, I will build you some gifts that have you, in the Christmas Story, and you'll shoot your eye out.
I'll
We'll do some of that.
drive the sleigh at the parade.
Amen. See,
I'll take
you'll price your people out.
And a convertible.
You'll price your people out.
Yeah, that'll be your slogan. You'll price your people out.
YULE. Yule.
No, I mean, really, I see, like, you asked these questions, how do you fix it? Like, become involved.
Have to.
No, but I think my question isn't, why you do it. Cause I agree that, and I think I agree 100% with Mike, that it's a Band-Aid. It buys time.
Yeah.
But what I'm curious about is, can our problems now be fixed? Is there a political solution to our problems?
I don't know, but I think it goes back to, to what we were talking about. So if somebody here starts to do it, and the other people you and I have been talking about in Texas and in those other places start to do that, and you have those pockets of people that are standing up, I don't want to say resistance, but pockets of people saying, hey, wait, we want to change it here, and we want to change it here, and you start to, that momentum is key. And as we all know, that's essentially how stuff changes historically.
So I think it's more about posturing than it is about fixing. Because I think that train's already left the station. Something's going to happen. Every great civilization in this world ceases to exist at some point. But why not, instead of trying to fix it, which I don't know. It just doesn't seem like people want to. So the next best option is posture and brace for impact. But why not posture better than everybody else's? Because maybe we can outlast it a little bit longer. Maybe we can set ourselves up a little bit better.
And in the interim, teach the next generation.
Don't do what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's about them letting us win the little battles, but the war is already won.
Yep.
Mhm.
So you don't think there's a political solution to the problem?
No, I think the politicians are bought and paid for.
What do you think?
I agree. I think they're bought and paid for. And I think that it's already,
Because you might be the most conspiratorial amongst us.
they already know. They already know what's going to happen.
You think that's
There's a
that way
playbook.
on local and state and federal
I
levels?
do.
Local as well?
Yeah.
So your local politicians, you
Because-
think are bought and paid for?
I think that their whole, when you vote us in, then you're giving us the ultimate authority to do whatever we want. I think that they already know.
You want to hear something funny? So our local commissioners went to a meeting of the other commissioners, something with the counties, whatever. A meeting with all the other commissioners from the state recently, right? Who's one of the biggest players that's been a hot topic around here recently, right? NextEra, in Evergy. Guess who one of the keynote speakers at the conference where all the commissioners was
And
during
who's
this
the big
conference?
donors were?
And the biggest donors. Guess who put the whole thing on? Evergy. I recently, we've been to several classes recently in the local area, right? Concerning farmlands and grazing and things of that nature, right? And I will tell you that one of the classes we went to was a local class for range management through practices of burning. So open range burning, which is great, fine. And I was glad that one of the local technicians was there from Evergy to say, hey, if you get close to a power pole, this is what's happening, right? You want to stay away from it, don't spray water on it, so on and so forth. This is how to treat a pole fire. Good. I was glad they were there for that, but they were also sponsoring the event, sponsoring the meals, right? So how does that look in the eyes of the farmers that are there to learn about, pasture management when they come knocking on their door asking, hey, can we come put in a solar farm? Oh yeah, you guys were at that conference. We bought you a sandwich. Come on in. Right. So I like the local people that are working here, the technicians, the guys that are the ground pounders doing the hard work, but it's the investor class that bothers me with those types of environments, especially when those people are hired and they go to these giant meetings where all the commissioners are at. Right.
So then is that who you think is buying the local officials then?
I think that the ability for a county to intake that amount of money and those kinds of promises when people are yelling and screaming about roads, it's hard for those guys to turn down. So when I hear the term bought and paid for, I see it two different ways. Outright bought and paid for, under the table, whatever, they're getting cash, or they're just to their face in the open and public promising them all kinds of money and promising to solve their financial problems. So bought and paid for, there's more than one dynamic to that. It's
not just write them a check that they pocket.
Right.
It solving their problem.
You guys
Campaign
were able to push
contributions.
back and shut down.
No, it's not.
It's
It's
not.
not over.
It's
No,
not.
I think we did a good job of pushing back.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of time left in all of this, but
Yeah.
So let's just say that you prevail. They take their toys and they go home or go to another town. Does that still say that those politicians are bought and paid for, because they're the ones that are going to cast said vote. And if they're voting in favor of what you guys have voiced your opinion over and stood your ground on legally, and they kowtow to that, then
They could change their mind.
Yeah.
Right, but the attempt's been made.
well, yeah, agreed. I guess I just say like that statement of they're all bought and paid for leaves zero hope. And so why even bother playing the game?
Yeah, I think that's too broad of a brush. I think the attempt has been made, and it's up to people to have the integrity to either to do the right thing.
Well, but I think to your point earlier too matters a lot too. Is I don't think anything we do at the county level here locally will have any long-term impact. I don't think we can fix it long-term.
Yeah, 3 years at a time, maybe.
Yeah. But what I do think what we can do is Band-Aid.
Right.
And what I do think we can do is push it off, which buys time.
Right.
Because whatever the moment comes where a collapse, whatever happens, if you can buy a year from that time, you're in a whole other shape.
Yep.
Right. And so what you're doing is just trying to Band-Aid as long as you can in hopes. But I don't think nothing we do here will have any big impact.
First aid's better than nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. So I think that's why it's still worth it. I don't think you're going to change much. You can change things locally. You can get rid of a building permit for this or that, but you're not going to stop what's
That train's
$38 trillion in debt, $200 trillion in unfunded liabilities.
So
You're not going to stop it.
what Mike was talking about, so is that like one of those weekend things where it's like, okay, commissioners, come over here and we're gonna put you up in this hotel and we're going to go do this thing and
Oh, that's a good point. I wonder if they had to pay out of pocket.
Mike, his different supply houses and different companies through our plumbing would put them up like, hey, we're going to do a promo weekend
Yep.
in Tahoe. So we're going to fly you up to Tahoe, pick you up with limousine and take you helicopter skiing on these really great things and keep buying our products.
Yeah, but that's different though, because that's two entities that create goods and services doing business with one another.
Exactly.
That's not, hey, that's not a cancer, right? That's feeding off of everybody else. And then somebody taking the money out of that cancer even more so, and costing the taxpayer even more, right? So I think that it's great that, two businesses doing business and creating goods and services together and
I'm saying you think it's a similar thing where they're calling the
Oh,
commissioners
absolutely.
or the people like, hey, we'd really like to educate you on what our product offers for this solar farm. So let us put you up for the weekend to come over here and have these lunches.
I don't think
We're
that's
gonna
how
talk to you."
that
Oh,
works.
I don't know. I
No.
don't know.
I think what happens is that they come in and they say, we'll sponsor the conference. Part of our sponsorship, we'll pay for the hotel rooms.
Okay.
It's not direct.
And then we get to carve out some time to speak to everybody.
Right.
Okay, so it's
Right.
similar but not the
Yeah.
same.
So here's an observation. You had commented that you have one person every so many hours moving, one taxpayer every so many hours moving out of Kansas. Do you remember what that number was? Every hour and a half, a taxpayer.
No, it was like one person every hour and a half.
So that they lose a taxpayer. That means that there's not somebody coming in to replace that taxpayer. You're just that much less. So as people like Jen and I, consider Kansas as a place to come and live and bring our money to, we're like really discouraged based on the taxes and the lack of hope that they're going to get any better. And as you have more and more people leave, the numbers just continue to go further south. So do you think that they don't care because they don't need those taxpayers to be here if they have the big companies like the solar companies coming in to make up for that lost revenue?
Or to increase the existing taxpayers.
I think they're so out of touch, they don't see it.
But would that be an offset? Would that be a justifiable offset to them to say, it's okay, we can lose those people, crank the rates up, it doesn't matter because we're going to make enough money from this company coming in and doing business in our town. That we don't have to worry about.
100%. I think they look at those deals as a tax revenue source.
If they didn't have that as a backup, don't you think that it would be prudent of them to want to incentivize people to move to their area instead of discourage by continuing to raise taxes?
Yeah, I have mentioned to our commissioners on numerous occasions on ways they can attract people. There's a lot of things we could do. If we would get committed to doing it, I'm telling you guys, we could, and I'll give you some examples. If Jackson County, Kansas was known as the place in America that grew the healthiest food, right? the best education system, whatever it was, right? There's things that we could put in place that the people would bring, and they would come with their money, and they would come with these things. And if you do that, the businesses will come.
I mean, look at the
It's
town.
capital.
The town square is ripe. It's
Right.
ripe to be renovated.
Oh, it's so lovely.
It
too.
could be a tourist trap. People, you could make this a destination, but the problem is you get a building on the square. I know of one in particular, family came in, took 2 tax bills over, combined these 2 buildings. It went from a $7,000 a year tax bill. They made a very nice establishment where people could come and gather. It went up to it tripled or quadrupled what the annual tax bill was because they refinished the inside of the building and made it look nice. Right?
We
So
got
they
penalized.
penalize them, yeah.
Right. That business is no longer there. They've left.
Mhm.
So the thing is the tax situation is so terrible. You have an empty building the size of an original Walmart sitting on the main highway
Yeah,
that's been empty for years now.
10 years.
Right. They're paying $30,000 a year on that piece of property and it's sitting empty. Like who wants to start a business with a $30,000 a year deficit? Right. You have to have something pretty spectacular, but because that tax situation is so sour, like
Right.
nobody's clamoring at the bit to move into that building, even though it's ready to go. It's got a brand new roof, maybe a little updating here and there, but why would anybody do it?
And you have to look at the reasons why those people are moving out of Kansas.
Mhm.
Are they in an area that's putting in a solar farm? Are they in an area that's putting in a data center?
Mhm.
Are those people moving out for particular reasons? And as they leave, are they being replaced by people with higher incomes, the people that are working for these companies? You know, it's digging into the details and finding out who's leaving, who's coming, and why they're doing both. Because there's other states that are high tax states. People are still moving there.
Mhm.
It all has to do with what that state has to offer for that particular person. You know, for Kansas is not, I would not consider Kansas a tax-friendly state. But there were certain reasons why we moved to Kansas.
Mhm.
Are there better states? Yes.
Mhm.
But it's why are people moving in and out? California, the same. People are moving out like crazy, but people are still moving there. So
I think when you do the numbers of what Tag was saying is like, that number doesn't, it already compensates for the people moving in. And I just did the math on it, it's 6,500 people a year. It's 6,500 taxpayers go away each year at that 1.5 hour rate per, losing a taxpayer. So do the math on that and then amortize it over however many years that you have.
Right.
And in California, still has a deficit at the end of the day with the people that are moving in from taxpayers who are moving out. I don't know how to calculate for it. Undocumented people is the only thing that is a wild card in there that I'm not sure what that looks like in the numbers.
You also have to consider the makers and the takers too, and how many people, that are making good money that are paying those taxes, and then how many people that are on, that matters. I'm not trying to poo-poo that, but there are a lot of people who are on public assistance or, taxpayer dollars and stuff. And is that an increase as well? Because they're getting subsidized housing, or they're getting subsidized food, or they're getting subsidized whatever. And
Yeah, well, and we're also assuming that those statistics are true,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can make up any statistic I want against my political opponent.
And as people continue to move out, so if you were to do a per capita figure how many people work in the government
Mhm.
per, individual living in Kansas.
Mhm.
Is that per capita ratio of government employee to citizen?
Mhm.
Is it following?
It's a fun wormhole to go down. Tag and I went down after 2 days, but
We did.
So is it all the state entities in Kansas, are they employing more government employees or less as people are leaving?
Yeah.
If the answer is it's staying the same, we have our trajectory is messed up.
what was our death rate in the United States during COVID, and what was it before that? And it didn't change. Yet all of a sudden we lost everybody from COVID. We lost all these lives. And I'm not saying that there weren't lives lost, but our death rate didn't change.
The flu took the year off. Give it a break.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a break. Don't be an ass.
The food was eradicated for a year.
Right.
I mean, things were pretty clean that year also.
They were playing.
It's like, yeah, it's so nice. Things are really clean here.
Rubbish.
So let's talk about digital ID. And I only bring this up because China, just today I seen a report from them stating that without digital ID, they're cutting off access to food.
And
And-
travel.
Sounds fair.
Huh?
They just changed, the TSA just changed regulations for the United States effective January 20.
Yeah, so you have to have the enhanced ID card, otherwise you get charged, I think it's $45 for them to do it on the spot.
And it's good for 10 days.
Yeah.
And if you, so if you don't have a real ID, it's only good for 10 days. And if you go on a trip for 2 weeks because you're going out to see the grandkids or whatever,
That'll be another 45.
and it'll be another
Oh
45.
my gosh.
And you
wow.
have to submit to the facial scan. If you don't want to submit to the facial scan, then you have to step aside so that they can have another specially certified person come and verify your identification. Mike and I just got that notification through the airline that we travel a lot.
Yeah, but the facial scan is irrelevant because every time you go to Walmart, it's just as good.
I concur. However, what they said was TSA will now have to call a person up to verify your identification. You're like,
What?
Okay.
And you're paying-
They want to make it harder. They want to make it more
Yeah,
inconvenient.
yes.
But if you don't want to have a digital ID and be required to use that digital ID and they still have a way for you not to do it, it's just not convenient.
well, we can use our passports.
Yeah, but if you have one of these, you have a digital ID.
Are there any amendments that goes against to force somebody to show that type of identification?
I don't think so.
Mm.
You know, again, you got to think about the time that was written, right?
Right.
That would have to have been a pretty specific.
Well,
No,
You would ask the founding fathers, like, hey, so if am I going to be required to get a digital, face scan in order to fly on an airplane? They'd be like, what?
You didn't have
Have you got into the wine?
to drive your horse and carriage back
Do you have certain privacy rights?
or to go fishing.
So the government's really good at circumnavigating privacy rights by hiring a private company to do it, right? So that's one of those things where even if you win in court, you'll never win with that.
Well, privacy rights don't exist electronically.
So the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania just ruled on that actually and said basically, hey, now that you've signed that you accept these terms with Google, we no longer have to get a warrant for your information. We can just get a warrant and go to Google and say, hey, why don't you guys turn over all the results that meet this criteria? And then they can turn over that information to law enforcement, right? Without the need for a warrant for your specific information because you applied or you accepted the terms, right? And you are no longer entitled to your privacy. And the reason they can do that is because they're dealing with a private company. Google's not necessarily susceptible to the rules of the road the same as the government, right? They're not required.
The flock cameras as well.
Yep.
So,
They're here.
What's a flock camera?
High-powered, high-resolution cameras. If you go to Lowe's, when you go into Lowe's, it doesn't matter which driveway you take. If you look, there's a black column with a little solar panel, a little camera on top. Those belong to Flock. It's a private company, right?
Stop.
And they do AI analytics. They basically track all video footage coming in and leaving the parking lot. And they have a network of cameras. They're really popular in Kansas City. But basically what they're doing is they're gathering all this information privately to this private company because they're allowed to do that doing mass surveillance. And their little AI data analytics will paint a picture of everywhere you go where those cameras are installed.
Wow.
No
And
license.
how long it took you to get there, so how fast you were going,
Point A, point
who's
B.
with you.
That is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And then that where it ends up is you can no longer go in a grocery store. Right?
Or
I mean,
anywhere. Well, you're carrying your phone, you said.
Yeah, I'm using it for the example of China.
Oh, no, it's everywhere because I read a really interesting thing from one of the guys what's the other AI big thing? He was talking about one of their clients refuses to carry us, kind of like Joel Salatin, he carries his dumb phone or whatever. But anybody who's around them will start use because of the microphones on there, they'll start data and voice recognition. So even if Bob's not carrying a cell phone, but Bob's around all the other friends that carry cell phone, Bob's information and what he's talking about is now going to start. And I was just like flabbergasted listening to this going.
So one of the big privacy, and they'll continue to go around it, right? It's the defense versus the offense. So the defense for a long time for privacy advocates was encryption, right? If I send you a message on, let's say, Signal, it's encrypted. Nobody can intercept it. Well, the problem is they went, oh, well, that's easy to solve. We'll just scan the message before it leaves the cell phone. We'll call it client-side scanning, and then we're not defeating encryption, so therefore we're not breaking the law.
Because you used your phone to type it in the first place.
Right, so they saw what happened on your phone and you were typing it before you sent it. Right? So they'll get the information before it ever goes out. So they'll always find a way around it, right? That's why I tell people anything that's on a cell phone or digital, it's not private.
It's like your parent. They're just constantly outsmarting you.
Helicopter parent governing, I guess.
It's interesting that it happens.
Right there. Where they go on their little computers and they can track everywhere. Oh, we got him on 5th Street. Now he's turning right here. Now he's turning left there because they got cameras everywhere to be able to watch you. It's like just very sci-fi.
Your phones know everything. You texted me asking me if I had a Sam's membership. And it wasn't long after that I got an email for a discount for a Sam's membership. And I hadn't been getting.
You're welcome.
I hadn't been getting.
Thanks, B.
We talked about a treadmill. We didn't even search for a treadmill. We talked about it. And when we pulled up, it was like Mike was going to check something, and then it was like the Facebook Marketplace is offering you treadmills, and ads on Amazon are. I mean, we're like, we didn't even search it on our phones or our laptops. We were just having a conversation.
This isn't new.
Crazy.
If you read the book, it's called The Power of Habit. He talks about how Target did this decades ago, right? Long story short, father had to go, he went to go check the mail. He gets out a mailer and it's a bunch of baby items, right? And he's too old to be making babies, right? So he's thinking, what in the world's going on? He flips it over. It's his daughter's name on the back of this mailer. His daughter's like 18, 19 years old, still living at home. He takes the magazine, goes straight to Target, and starts yelling at the manager. Why are you sending my child products for newborns and babies? Are you trying to get her pregnant? Just flies off the deep end, angry, right? So the manager says, I have no idea what's happening. I'll get to the bottom of it. I'll contact you. So the manager calls corporate, whoever he calls, and they say, hey, well, our analytics said that by her Target card, we looked at what she was purchasing, and those types of items tend to come up when women are pregnant. So we sent her the baby mailer, right? In the meantime, the father goes home and he's huffing and puffing. He's pissed off about this mailer, and the daughter breaks the news. Hey, mom, dad, I'm pregnant. Right? Target knew that his daughter was pregnant by her shopping pattern
Before he did.
Right? So this has been going on for a long time, but they're getting better at it. They're using technology. It's in your face, right? So this kind of predatory behavior by the stores, the investor class, has been happening for
It happens. It happened in our world as well, where if the phone rang, you could have programs. We didn't do this, but we knew the plumbing companies that did. That they, as it would pop up on a computer screen, it would show your house, cars you drove, how much money you made, to give you all the analytics of who you are, so that you could target those type of customers that were high-end customers.
Right.
And
There's
they'll
like a
charge
home
them
at
money.
this
So
place.
based on that income, they would then choose which sales guy would go out there to work their house, because they knew the good ones could bring the good money, and that was the whole strategy. I mean, what a crappy deal if you were to go to a doctor and have the same thing go down, where the doctor saw you as a dollar sign as opposed to a patient that just needed care. But it happens all the time for us as well.
Oh, we recently had somebody that we know very well that went to the doctors, and they said, well, this individual can't cover the bill, and told him to kick rocks. Life-threatening condition. Sorry, nothing we can do. Have fun.
Well, and that also is one of the threats of digital ID is now we're combining medical records, credit scores. We're combining everything into one, planetary, right? Into one local place.
But that's the point.
And if you
That's
can
exactly
afford
the
it,
point.
they'll save
Because
your
now the
life.
hospital will know instantly whether or not you can afford to be fixed. Right?
Yep.
That's absolutely insane. So again, how do you fight it? I mean, you can say, I'll pay the $45, but as in China, you can't go into a grocery store without it. So it means we're growing your own food. And I know a lot of people in this audience know this. You know how hard it is to grow all your own food?
Well, that'd be a good question for the audience. So this system's been around for a while and they named it, right? They named their social credit system, the machine that controls it. If anybody can bring up that name, that'd be interesting. But Vice did a documentary on it. It's actually kind of ironic and kind of scary at the same time. So China's already had the system in place for a long time.
Yeah.
They've been practicing social credit for quite a while.
Yeah.
And they gave it a super eerie, creepy name. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see if anybody brings it
Do you ever
up.
watch the videos of the people with poor social credit score sleeping on the streets
Mhm.
and all of that stuff? And now they can't eat.
A lot of them were younger people too.
Most
like
of them were younger.
children,
Yeah.
like just out of
Yeah.
high school. So
Yeah.
you know, type.
Oh yeah, insurance companies. That's a great point. Carrie Davis talks about insurance companies do it too. Good hands.
Mhm.
Yeah, super interesting because now your insurance rates will be tied to your political standing.
Right.
Will be tied to your shopping behaviors.
Right.
Will be if you buy a lot of Snickers, your insurance rates will go up.
No, they won't do that. Because they're
You
all
don't think?
No, because they already could if they wanted to.
They gotta
Because
get
they could ask you for your health record and look at your BMI as soon as you went into the doctor's office. They're not doing that. They're just making other people subsidize your work.
No, there are some health insurances that do charge you based on what your habits are. I remember my mom talking about her health insurance where it had to do with her eating or whatever she was being seen for, that if she wasn't to stay on, you know, whatever it was to get her on the right track, that they could charge her more for her insurance because she was contributing to the condition.
Was she smoking? Was it a
No,
smoker thing?
no.
And health insurance, that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
So like car insurance, for example, that's where I look at it. If they want to if somebody wants to say, hey, I'll put a tracker on my car that says I drive the speed limit all the time to get a discount, I think that's fine. And that's my choice.
Mhm.
Right. I don't have any issue with that.
Would you do it?
Would I do it? I don't speed anymore.
That's not what I asked.
Now here's the thing though. If I had full transparency and all they were tracking was my speed on a daily basis, it would make nothing but sense for me to do that. However, if they're taking my data and selling it to a third party saying, hey, these are all the places this guy visits, hey, you guys should send them ads, then I am not out.
Yeah, but how would you know?
Or they're just collecting it, not necessarily selling it, but at least they're just
I don't-
collecting it to see where you're going for whatever
Right.
time.
Loved ones wrapped
days.
in the system was named Brother.
It wasn't close, but no,
Wasn't Brother?
No.
You remember what it was?
I know it was.
Okay, so you're waiting for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up?
Big Brother.
No, not quite.
Mhm.
It was worse.
Worse than Brother.
Worse
Brother's
than
creepy.
Oh no, way worse than brother.
Was it something satanic?
Dang near.
Really?
Yeah.
Obama?
Close. No.
So do any of you guys think that we can successfully resist the digital ID stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
By not participating in it as much as possible.
But there's no as
You
much
mean
as
for
possible.
your lifetime?
Well,
There's no as much as possible. Either you're participating in it as you're not.
so
Because
let's
if you have to reach to the outside world for anything,
let's go back to my example, right? So let's say I need help on a plumbing project, right? I have two choices. I can call a plumber, or I can call somebody I know that might help me out,
Mhm.
right? So if I call the guy that's going to come help me out because he wants to exchange in my help for fixing his truck or whatever, right? We just not participated in the system.
understood.
So it's as much as you can push back without participating in the system, and I think it's possible with having the right network of people, the right community, right? But you're only going to be able to do it so much. You won't be able to do it entirely.
But what happens when you need to go to Lowe's?
Exactly.
Flock cameras
That's what I'm
are.
saying.
Then at that point, you have to participate.
Yeah.
So you can now resist doesn't mean completely be non-participatory, right?
Well, either you have the digital ID or you don't.
Oh, you have to have it. There's no.
That's what I'm saying. Is there any
Yeah,
way-
no.
Okay, that's not. Yeah.
You can resist for as long as
As you
they
can.
allow you.
There's a small margin of people that could probably do it some way, right? But that margin is going to be the exception to the.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not manufacturing oil filters. You don't have a salt line. You don't, I mean.
Right.
None
Some
of
things you
us
can buy your way out of, well, you can, but there's other things you just.
Right. Right. When you called, the phone knows. I don't know what that means. But Mo said, anyway. All right, we guys have changed topic. Let's talk about what's going on overseas. You know, Europe and a lot of the Middle East and a lot of the countries over there on the kind of teetering on the brink of civil war. I don't know if you guys are following this, but there are riots in Portugal, Spain, Germany, Belgium, Bulgaria, France, England, Iran, just to name a few. What do you suppose is causing all of that? I have a theory.
What or who?
What?
Oh,
What could be a who?
different theory.
Yeah, what could be a who? Just, well, why is it the way it is?
People are fed up.
Yeah, exactly.
Fed up of
Which part of it? The cause or the effect?
what's causing the citizens to riot simultaneously in all over the globe
Well, they're pissed.
at
Illegal immigration.
No, not
No,
necessarily.
but
just
the-
that.
Not taxation without
Are-
representation.
handling their economic.
Well, just their
Economics.
environment in general. Right.
I saw that several of those news things where the people are down on boots on the ground and they can't even get through like to their homes or
Mhm.
jobs or whatever because the whole place is covered with several times a day prayer things
Mhm.
and they can't get through
Mhm.
and the rubbish and neighborhoods that are being taken over and Christmas trees being lit on
So do you think
fire.
that they're mad at the 5 times a day thing, or are they mad at that their rights have been suspended for the rights of somebody
I
else?
think that they're
Because I think it's deeper,
I
right?
think it's probably a little bit of both, but
Mhm.
when you have, when you get invaded by, your house,
Eagle Eye
it's a whole
Skynet?
bunch of cockroaches in it,
Skynet.
you're not gonna be super stoked on it. You're gonna be like pissed at the cockroaches and now I have to spend all this time and money and effort to clean my house and try and figure out how to keep roaches out of my pantry.
Well, on the flip side too, so
Not the people are roaches, but you understand. what I'm saying.
I spent a lot of time in the Middle East, okay? So if I went to the Middle East during Ramadan, right, and I was disrespectful to their culture and I said, hey, you're not allowed to play this music or play your call to prayer 5 times a day. And then I'm going to go out in the middle of Ramadan, in the middle of the afternoon, I'm going to wear a tank top, boxers, and I'm going to go eat a giant chicken dinner in the middle of the city square. They'd be pissed, right? Because that's totally disrespectful for their culture. So I think people have a right to be pissed off when people violate their culture, right? And the culture of that part of the world was not what's going on now. And I think that's why people are ticked off, is because they had the way that they're used to, that was their culture, and they're losing it.
Right. Well,
Right? In the same way that it goes both ways.
when you've been in Japan and stuff, you go and you take your shoes off to
Mhm.
enter somebody's home
Yep.
because it's a sign of respect.
Right.
And so you want to be respectful to this is your home,
Right.
your space, and this is how you live. I totally get that.
Right.
And that's how it should be. You shouldn't come in and be like, well, in my country, we wear shoes in the house and I'm
Right.
attacking my mud all over the place.
Yeah, but I really think the issue is bigger. I don't necessarily think it's, even though if you ask the average person, they probably couldn't articulate this.
Right.
But I think it's really anger at their rights being removed for the rights of someone who doesn't live there. I
Absolutely.
think it really comes down to, and you take your anger out on that, right? You take your anger out on the 5 times a day. But I think what people are really mad about is they're no longer being represented. They're no longer important in their own
We
place.
can
in their own
personally
country.
speak
Yeah.
to that from where we came from.
Yeah.
Because that happened to us, that happened to our kids. We saw that happen in our school
Mhm.
where we were paying taxes for ridiculous taxes, and then they changed the whole dynamic
Mhm.
of our school, the school district. And they had to bring in English as a second language things. And my kids, we saw the drastic decrease in what our children were learning, where they were excited. And as a mom who spent my children's entire elementary school in their school, I was absolutely flabbergasted to go like, now the teachers have to slow down because they had to bring ESL people in to then translate and help these non-English speaking kids learn this. So now my kids are suffering
Right.
that we are paying taxes on 2 properties for this school district for people who are not paying the taxes for. And so we personally were affected by that for several years.
Not to mention that they then started to bring in agendas like Muslim prayer to be taught to them.
They
Yeah.
went through a whole thing in our
I don't understand why this
Yeah.
is the only religion that he decided to bring in to.
What happened to the separation church and state? That
well, that's what our counselors
Exactly.
called us, our kids' counselors, and I knew them very well. And he calls me, he's like, hey, just want to let you know, this is one of the things that's going down. Do you want me to pull my daughter's name. I said, yes, can you please just put her in, the study hall area outside your office, because I'm not going to have my daughter participate in this for the next couple of weeks. It's church and state, as everybody wants to say, if I'm going to teach my kid religion, it's going to be what I'm going to teach them, not what somebody else thinks they need.
And you should have the right to teach them as you see fit,
I do.
as anybody else should.
Exactly.
I think there's another part to this that we should be considering too, which is as the grip of opportunity tightens, we talk about how the price of housing goes up faster than the incomes, right? We talk about the $67 at Burger King. We talk about all of these things. As young men feel less and less hopeful, right? I mean, the average, the average age of a male losing their virginity has gone up 12 years in the last 10 years, right? Their ability to find a spouse, their ability to have kids or have hopes of owning a home, have hopes of that. I think what happens too is that sends them into the streets.
Right.
And I think this is true whether you're talking about the Muslim religion, the Christian religion, the Hindu religion, whatever. When those young men no longer feel like they can be adequate.
Oh, it's worse than that. It just drives me to getting a virtual AI girlfriend.
Which makes the whole problem worse.
And the fact that our society has emasculated men.
Mhm.
It's no longer
And
okay
destroyed
for
the
a
nuclear
man to be a
family.
man.
Yeah.
That's why I'm wearing an elf suit.
My
I had
wife.
to tone down your masculinity.
Yeah, you have succeeded in toning down your masculinity. It's not just the elf suit, it's the matching elf
This
suit.
is gender neutral.
Hey, we're forward.
Go blind.
But it's not just the Muslims. If you look at these countries, it's different cultures. And it's these
Yeah.
countries' governments that are bringing,
Allowing for the influx.
they're not in there illegally.
Yeah.
Right,
Government,
they're being brought.
the
Yeah.
governments are bringing them into the European countries, the
Yeah.
US.
Yeah, one of the best workers I ever had, Tomas, and we talk about him a lot. And, he was, again, promised a job, put on a plane and flew to Chicago.
Mhm.
And
So
so
it had nothing for him.
it showed him it had nothing for him. That's not his fault.
No.
He is, in that case, he is every much of a
He
victim.
was trafficked.
He was traffic, right?
Oh my God.
Okay, but does that still
So
make him does that make him a legal citizen?
He was
No.
brought here
No,
legally.
so if the job is no longer available, then he has the opportunity to return to his
Well,
country,
except
to his
that-
home.
Except you show up with $50 in your pocket. I mean, that's what I'm saying, and I understand the point.
It was a one-way
I get it.
ticket.
That's what I'm saying, that it's every bit of a victim there as it is forcing me to pay.
They have a right to be pissed, and I would give them that.
What are you gonna walk?
But doesn't, if, well, no, I mean, I think the government's doing it
The
pretty,
government's
right now, they're saying, here, we'll give you $1,000
Now,
to self-support. And I think there's probably other provisions that they don't talk about that they give you to try and give you some sort of parting gift, if you will, to get on your feet as to where you're going to. But going back to, does it make it legal? Until you are legally processed, legally brought in, then you're not in. And that's the end of the story there.
Yeah, when you think,
But when you want to talk about fair, it's not fair on either side.
yeah, you use the word legally. So legally according to what?
According to what our immigration laws are.
Okay.
And once we stamp the visa or the whatever it is that allows you citizenship, that's when it's.
So what you're saying is
official.
if the deciders agree that it's okay, it's okay.
It's not even the deciders. It's
Pretty
what
much.
is the law? Because we have friends that have done it that
Mm-hmm.
way. They had to continually show up every couple, it was like 6 or 8 weeks or something,
Mhm.
to their meeting to say, yes, I'm still here, I'm still doing this, I'm following the rules,
Mhm.
and they got their citizenship. It was not a cheap process, it was not a free process.
Mhm.
And it took determination and it took time. How bad do you want it? Because I don't, I
They
They change the rules all the time.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys say, except to one point, and then we'll move on, but just to stress to the fact that system is predatory too.
I don't disagree.
Right, and so it's being, they are
Absolutely.
just as much, and not in every case, because there's certainly assholes out there doing bad things.
Absolutely.
But what I'm saying is there's a whole bunch of them. Tomas, I talk about him all the time. He's got 2 little boys at home. All he wants to do is provide them a better life. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then
And
I
he-
got an interesting point. So the dollar that he earns, right, he goes out and has to spend it somewhere here to buy things locally to survive. That dollar came from creating goods and services for somebody somewhere. Now, he may not pay whatever it is because he may status is whatever, however, comma. How does that differ from the person that's just living off the government cheese and then spending that money?
Right. And then we bitch and moan about taxes. Taxation is theft. Hard to argue both sides of that. Yeah.
There were several YouTubers that were going through New York City trying to get in and see what was going on, but they were able to interview several of the immigrants outside of those hotels. They were flown here, buzzed here,
Yeah.
given health care,
Perfect.
and
Traffic.
a lot of them are looking for ways to become citizens,
Mhm.
but our government brought them here. I mean, it's been all over the news
Right,
for
absolutely.
quite some time. So
But to that point, if the administration previously did that and they said, oh, we're going to go do X, Y, and Z and give you all this stuff, and now they're gone, and now the rest of the people are left footing the bill for that, like,
Which
is
is
that
also not
fair as,
No.
And that's-
so how do you square that?
We have to paint with a scalpel and not a sledgehammer. I
Yeah.
think it's up to the
I agree with
individual person, right? So we can't just beat this problem with a sledgehammer. You got to take it with a scalpel and pull it apart and go, okay, this individual, their result of being here is a net positive. This is a great scenario. Let's push them along and get them set up. Let's get them. Now,
Right.
this person is definitely a net negative. Let's go. Get out. You're done.
They've got a
You're
rap
cut.
sheet.
You
and
gotta
they-
go.
They were in trouble in their previous,
We can't just paint with a
So what
sledgehammer.
process do you go through to determine that?
You look at the net positive or net negative of what they're doing.
So then if their social credit score then, because that's really what it boils down to, like,
Kind of.
yeah.
Because even when I was in the military, we had people that served in the military that were not citizens. Okay, so they showed up and they had prerequisites they had to meet, and at some point they had met those prerequisites, and then they could apply for citizenships and have naturalization ceremonies. I can't tell you how many naturalization ceremonies I saw with sailors in uniform, Marines in uniform, soldiers in uniform that were just becoming American citizens because they'd been serving the country already, because they were adding to society. They had a net positive, right? It wasn't a net negative.
So again, then when we talk about that social credit score being a bad thing, we're now saying it's a good thing in terms of being able to vet people as to whether or not they are deemed worthy. And then once you get in and you're part of the Good Boys Club, then you have the freedom to then let off, right?
I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I mean, I think looking at someone's
I'm not saying that I disagree with it.
No, I think you're kind of right, actually.
This is a very super interesting topic.
Right.
Yeah, because their social credit, if you gave them a social credit score, and the criteria was your credit score has to be positive in order to become a citizen,
But according to whose definition of problem would all lie?
which nobody will ever agree on.
Right, which nobody will ever agree on. It's an hour and 42 minutes. I have some really interesting quotes I want to hear your guys' opinion on. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a couple. One in particular is a doozy.
Oh, boy.
Vladimir Putin said this week, and I'm going to quote him. He said, Western elites have been filling their bellies with human flesh, and it's time for the end of an era. What did he mean?
Pizzagate? Jeffrey Epstein's Island?
I'm here to listen to what you guys think that meant.
all you have to do is go down the rabbit hole of YouTube.
Yeah.
And,
I think it's a metaphor for they've been cannibalizing their own.
and I would say it's not always a metaphor.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I was trying to be less dark things. Like number three.
Well, I
You know, the more I realize you and me are closer and closer to it. You know that? Anybody got a take on that?
You don't see what I put up with.
I'm with Jeanette. I think that it's maybe not such a metaphor, and the whole thing is, truth is stranger than fiction may very well apply here
So you're
based on
saying,
rumors that we have been reading circling for the last several years. That's all I got to say about that.
saying all those zombie movies weren't movies.
we don't know what the truth
They were
is.
documentaries.
Yeah, I agree with Mike, but I think that there's like so much you could say about that. You could take it from the physical aspect of it and say, what are we doing with children? What are we doing with transgenderism and sex change and all those things, going from a physical standpoint to what are we doing with enslaving people for our own come up, our own gain.
Here's the perfect metaphorical example, right? So what if high schools and middle schools and parents all preach to their kids their school-age kids going through school, right? Get good grades so you can go to college. What's the only debt you can't bankrupt yourself out of?
College.
One of the only is college debt, right? So we're just going to give you $100,000 golden handcuffs and send you out into the world, and you're already making money for the investor class because the investor class is allowed to cannibalize off their own for their own good.
That's a great point.
Right. So I think he is right in the sense that metaphorically, at a minimum, right, a lot of people are getting fat off cannibalizing.
That's good stuff right there.
It is good stuff.
What do you, come on, B, come on, let's hear something outlandish. Come on.
Save the best for last. Come on,
down. Somebody else do.
Alan Chase says, I think Putin is talking about how Western nations are using people and resources of Africa and other areas, about how they're preying on their own. And we do, and we been talked all tonight. We've talked about how the system's predatory.
But that's been happening
Forever.
to third world
Yeah.
and less, non-Western
Yeah.
countries for centuries. I mean,
Yeah.
look what we did during the 1600s when the British Empire went out and started, taking stuff and then turned Australia into a penal colony.
Yeah, do you think that Putin is just calling the kettle black, and that he preys on his people just like Trump does, Biden does, whoever?
I would say it's impossible that there isn't some form of cannibalization going on, metaphorically or otherwise, all over the place.
When you
That's
have-
because it's not a particular race, it's not a particular people, it's not a particular continent, or really, it's people in general.
Conscription.
And the exception to the rule is the ones that are an identity that don't. They're the exception to the rule,
What
unfortunately.
did the African slave owners do with their slaves when they got rid of them? They sold them to us. They still, even then they were doing it as a society.
It's people.
And the Irish as well. Yeah.
So Mike, starting with you, what was his motivation to say that? Why would he say that?
No idea why.
No clue.
Fart in the wind. Everybody already knows they're drinking their Mountain Dew and eating chicken wings anyways.
No.
I got heartburn, give me the Ozempic, or whatever. I ate too many, give me Ozempic.
Anybody have any theories?
To separate himself and his government from the West.
I think that's a big one.
Mm.
You got any ideas, or you just staying quiet over
I'm
there?
just staying quiet.
Messaging.
Yeah, you sure?
Yep.
Pizzagate?
Yep.
Okay. You guys got any ideas?
Yeah, anytime you're putting the spotlight on somebody else, it seems like you're taking it off of yourself. And so, pot kettle, we're all, I think every country leader is guilty of that in some way or another. So it's not a profound statement that we haven't seen through the years, but we can certainly look at what we're dealing with now and see how poetic it is.
You got any ideas?
Follow the more, that's all I'm gonna say.
I think that the one thing that I would add to this is it continues when leaders like that, especially polarizing leaders like Putin, like this, continues to put a divide between the American people and the American government. And China's worked very, very hard at it. Russia's worked very, very hard at it about trying to separate and keep that divide going. So I think it's self-preservation. I think you're 100% right. We're better.
Oh, yeah,
We're
that rabbit was deep.
Yeah, it was super deep.
Look at
Super
look at
deep.
Qatar's influence on the American education system. That'll blow your mind, right? So I think that those types of things are absolutely real. That what are they? Subterfuge, right? As it were, that's real. That's been around forever.
Subterfuge, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Come on, Michael.
Now you guys want
You got
that's
your-
Here, look, we're doing all of this stuff while I'm over here doing this and stabbing you back. I'm over here helping you.
Okay.
All right. So subterfuge. The basic definition is deceit used in order to achieve one's goal.
All right.
Yeah.
But is it really deceit?
Because he didn't say in his quote, "I don't do it."
Right.
Does not what he said, right? He just said the Western elites are doing it, which there would be some truth in it depending on how you interpret it, right?
Yeah, that's a big fat rabbit hole for not many minutes left.
Yeah. Yeah, we got 11 minutes. Another quote. So Germany just issued a mandated survey to young people in Germany. And one of the questions in the survey was, are you ready to defend the motherland?
Oh, no. Again?
Yes. So did you find anything fascinating about that statement? Because to me, there's some big stuff there.
I feel like somebody threw a boomerang and it started to come back around.
Because of
Prior history.
the word motherland?
Well, just in general. So one of the hot topic words was nationalism, right? So people are starting to become more tribal again, right? So Germany's becoming more tribal and issuing those types of things. It's a harbinger, I think, of future things to come, unfortunately.
I think if Germany's youth is anything like the US youth, it's a different generation and they're not going to be interested in going to war.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you guys think?
I think that it's a way of looking at the youth and like kind of we touched on earlier to say like, oh, are you going to go along with this? And if we need to, because I don't know that we're going to have like kinetic war like we had in the past with all the technology. So it's not like you're going to be out there with, you know, your Mosin Nagant and a bayonet on the end or something like that. It's going to be very, very different. But who are they going to use for cannon fodder? And if, you know, Heinrich doesn't answer the proper question, then he's going to be part of that cannon fodder.
Right. They're going to deduct his social credit score.
Yeah.
I think it's creative marketing and messaging, and I think the word motherland ties a sense of family, belonging,
Patriotism.
honor to the statement that gives you ownership now and gives you some sort of personal connection, and that's a great way to rally. So I give A for creative marketing.
Yeah, and I kind of lean that way because even if you ask the question, was the answers you'd get be truthful? Not likely, right?
You know, people are
There's a lot of erroneous information.
people are apt to say what they think the other one wants
Do
to
you
hear.
think the children of today, though, and I don't know, like Jeanette said, I don't know about the kids over there, but our kids over here, you know, like they're gonna be like, no, you know.
Did anybody watch the videos that young men did when they came out and said that the draft was going to
I didn't see any of them.
mandatory? Oh yeah,
Did
go
they cry?
no, no, just go and watch and the different ways that they tell you like no and like heck no, we're not going.
Yeah, but you have to think too, it's a cultural deal, right?
Yeah.
So if you went, let's take a couple of different extremes here. If you went through the American culture and said, we're going to do a draft, right? You're going to get those kinds of responses now because that's where this country's at. If you went to North Korea and said, hey, we're going to draft everybody up, we're leaving tomorrow, I guarantee you a high degree percentage of those young males are going to stand up and go, cool, I got nothing better to do. Let's just get this over with.
But don't a lot of them too, isn't it mandatory service in a lot of other countries? Like
Yes.
they have so many, like you have
Different
to serve
culture,
at
right?
least 2 years in the service, like
Or more.
Israel does that.
Right.
Yeah, at least 2. And
So it all depends on the culture of the country. And I'm not affluent enough in German culture to know what's going on
Yeah.
there right now.
It'd be interesting to see what the culture in Germany is right now with the people, the young people and all the generations there right now.
Yeah, I think the government was planting a seed of motherland, and I think that was the only important word in that entire thing in an effort to work on building. But I think my follow-up question to all of you guys would be, who are they defending the motherland from?
Probably everybody else.
Mhm.
Anybody.
Do they have a specific enemy? Are they worried about Russia, what's going on in Ukraine, or are they worried about becoming London?
Becoming London in terms of invasion
Of
Muslims.
Muslims and the whole thing that's going on over there. What's the perceived enemy?
It's whoever the machine tells them it is.
It doesn't matter.
look at where they're located though. If you look at the map, like who's on this side, who's on this side, who's on this, you know, like
Yeah.
That's
I guess
maybe
the
not
question
such a
is
great
what's
flip.
valuable about Germany that
Mhm.
people want to be there or take their resources,
To make
And
the
also-
best progress.
right? And also, what are their immigration
Technology.
policies?
Mhm.
And I don't think that Russia allows immigration, do they? I mean, their immigration is
That is
pretty
Pretty
darn tight.
More strict,
Yeah, and so I think that that question doesn't necessarily need to be asked in terms of foreign invasion from those people coming in. And if they're learning anything from all of it, like tighten up your borders, tighten up your borders. Everybody needs to learn that lesson right now. Like stop with this bleeding heart and this mentality that we have to take care of everybody else outside of our borders.
Could you imagine the shock in some of those countries though? Like here it's different, right? Because where I grew up around tons of different races, right? It wasn't until I joined the military and went overseas, one of the first countries I went to where this was a real shock was Japan. And I get there and everybody's Japanese except for this guy, right? And I'm looking around, I'm like, well, this is different. I'm used to being in a melting pot my entire life. So having immigrants coming in, it's whatever. It's not that big of a shock to my system. But imagine if you're in Japan, right? And busload after busload and after busload of tall white guys show up. And they start living in your neighborhood and taking things over. It's happened with the Navy, specifically in Okinawa, where they've taken over entire neighborhoods. You got a bunch of drunk sailors rolling around. The people that live there are pissed, right? So it's different depending on where you're coming from, your cultural perspective. Because from here, I would imagine we're a little bit more of a melting pot than places like that, where they're thinking, that their cultural stance means more to them because it's more real to them based upon who lives there than it does here because we're such a melting pot compared to the rest of the world.
I think too, though, that statement needs probably changed, because when everybody likes to say, well, all these people came in and made this melting pot, and the difference is when people came here, the Europeans came, we were settling the thing, we weren't invading. We weren't coming in and saying, people who already live here, feed us, house us, give us medical, do all this stuff for us, and just
Interesting. That's partially true, but almost all of our laws are written based out of English law.
Right.
Right. I mean, so
Roman, I mean, our whole
right,
government.
the Europeans came over, they did bring their culture with them from a legal perspective, from a schooling perspective.
And our government is set up.
Our education system comes from Prussia.
It's funny you say that. So
Yeah, very interesting.
real super funny, because I have ancestry not too far removed, right? That their generation showed up here because their parents' generation was escaping the Mexican Revolution, right? But prior to the Mexican Revolution, prior to that generation being here, they had already lived here. They just got kicked out and came back.
How does that? Yeah, no, I'm not arguing a lot. I mean, I look at so many people, like I said, like Pablo, like he busted his tail to get here. He was born in a very small village, Oaxaca, Mexico, and worked his butt off for years.
But his ancestors were here prior to that, and then some people showed up and kicked them out, and they have to play the system to get back in.
Yeah.
So it's all relative. And the only reason I brought it up was only because culturally, what we're used to nowadays in the U.S. is a melting pot, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just what you
Well, some parts of the U.S.
A lot of parts.
are used to a melting pot. There's certain parts of the U.S.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you go overseas to a place like Japan, where the predominant people are just Japanese.
Because they have a very, very, very strict system. They're an island nation.
Right.
They have a very strict immigration policy.
Now, the thing that irks me is I would never go to Japan, or like, let's say I've been to Singapore. I would never go to Singapore and throw my gum on the sidewalk.
Right? Yeah.
I don't feel like getting caned. It's disrespectful. I don't do it anyways. Right. But then when people come over here and they're like, oh, that's fine, we could do that anyways because your culture doesn't matter, that pisses me off. Because I will go to all these different foreign countries and I will respect their culture all day long because it's there. I'm the guest.
We started to get a lot of Somalis and Marshallese that came in to work at the butterball plant near us. I go to the gym in the morning. I go in to get on a treadmill or whatever. These guys will come in and they're very, very rude, very entitled. They'll get the hold of the radio, crank it as loud as they can, yell at each other across the gym, and be just completely disruptive. You do what you can to, because they don't speak English, you do what you can to try and like, hey, this isn't how we act, so like start acting normal, or you're just gonna get the cold shoulder and probably the shit beat out of you, excuse my French, from the people that are gonna get tired of dealing with your stuff, and off you go. But then it just, again, you look at that and you're like, I would never think to act that way as a guest in somebody else's house or their country or their town and think that it was okay to get away with it. So these cultures that come over without any type of direction as to how to assimilate into this type of society are destined for doom on both ends.
You got to find that middle ground, right? Because like with Singapore, I don't want to pay 70% of what they pay 70% of their wages in taxes, right? But that 70% then turns around and gives them a house, whatever. You know, when they join the military, they wind up a job that follows them into their civilian career because it's mandatory military service. I don't like the fact that like some of the things that Singapore does pisses me off. I wouldn't play well over there.
Right.
However, when you know somebody goes and tags a bunch of cars, spray paints a bunch of cars, right, and they get caned, I'm like, fine. You get what you deserve. You know, that's fine. So there's where do we find the middle ground between all of that? Because the only reason that Singapore can do that is because their culture is part of their government, and their culture drives that, and their culture says, hey, this is acceptable. You're going to face corporal punishment if you're an idiot.
So what type of a message do you think it sends to the immigrants that come here that see people get murdered on subways and nothing gets done about it? What do you think that messaging looks like to them?
Well, it depends on what country they're from, because some of them will be like us, just like, oh.
Well, but the point of it is that we're making the statement as a whole to say you can get away with it. It's okay. Do what you want, because if our government won't handle it, then where are the vigilantes in our system that will go up and handle it on their own to take care of what the government won't do?
Well, they won't, because then the government will turn around and prosecute the vigilantes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think
So-
you're right though, because that's just like home, and we experienced that on when we hired a painting company, and we're like, yeah, this is the guy, and he's, you know, we met him and we went through all this stuff, and the next day it shows up people that do not speak English, and they were throwing their trash everywhere, all over in our hay fields, throwing glass bottles and garbage and cigarette butts and leaving food, and just like absolutely disgusting. And down at the river, it was like they would go down there to the rivers and leave their broken lawn chairs and dirty diapers and all this stuff, and they don't even care. They don't like, hey, pick your garbage up.
Right.
And they look at you and, you know, give you
And they
finger
they
unicorn.
would literally sleep in our house, throw their beer bottles out into the field.
It's
No
an
accountability.
individual issue.
Of course, but for them, they look at it and they say, okay, cool, we're gonna get fired from this job here.
But-
And tomorrow we'll be picked up on another job because there's only a pool of us to go around out
It's only
here.
so
and
many
we'll
of us.
out.
It's an individual issue, because I can tell you right now, I used to do barracks inspections, right? And service members, it looked like a dang episode of Hoarders when I walked into this barracks room that they got for free that you paid for, right? That was pristine when they got it. They were in there a week living. There's pizza boxes stacked up to the ceiling, right? Trash everywhere. It's an individual issue, right? It's the individual, because I guarantee you, for every one of the dirty people that are just making a mess, there's somebody else that's clean. It's an
It comes
individual
down to your
issue.
experiences though, and I feel like I've been in the cesspool of it long enough between where we live in California and now where we're at out in Arkansas, which I thought we were gonna just come to the middle of America and it would, you know, be a whole bunch of
Great
redneck dudes,
people.
yeah, that were out there, hardworking guys, farm boys and so
They
forth.
throwing their trash in the trash can and
Melting pot.
Completely the opposite. So if I had to say the percentages of the good guys versus the bad guys that I encountered was probably a 80-20 split of bad guys and 20% of the good ones that you could weed out. And when you got a hold of the good ones, cool, you're stoked. But the 80% was a real number for us. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's an individual thing, but there's a lot of individuals.
Yep.
It's time for us to get out of here, but before we go, I'd like to just ask one more question for everybody, which is how do we position ourselves best to brace for impact? Using your word, Mike.
I think the only way that you can brace for impact is to look forward and try to be ahead. And whatever is coming your way, learn how to sidestep it.
Sidestep.
You got to be able to sidestep whatever challenges are coming your way, because they're coming one way or another. That train has left the station. Figure out how to get off the track so you don't get run over. Right? How do you sidestep the things that are going to challenge everybody else?
Jeanette, you have a comment? If you don't, okay. I'd love it if you did.
I don't know. I just think brace for impact. If a train is going to come that's going to impact me, like
Right.
there's only so much you can do. I just want to have fun and enjoy my life and do what I can do, because
She said
it's
sidestep
depressing
with some rhythm.
to think about the rest of it. You know, bracing for impact. If you're giving me a life sentence or tell me I'm only going to live for 6 months, well, I guess I'm just going to make the most out of what I got.
Beat?
Yeah. Yeah, and surround yourself with people you like.
Yep.
People who are graceful. That way you
Yeah.
can, when you're struggling, they can help you. Back and
Jen?
forth.
People that will laugh at you when you need them to laugh at you and help you. I agree. Even with all the craziness, you have to focus on happiness and levity. You can be angry at all the other stuff, people, everything, because the people are people. Do the best you can with what you got.
Levity helps me
And-
float through the bad
Levity is an
times.
amazing thing. Hello, have you seen my outfit? I'm wearing 12 layers of clothes. I got snow pants on underneath.
You're not cold, are you?
No, I'm actually really hot.
Mike, how do we brace for impact?
Get yourself $14, head to Walmart on their Christmas clearance sale and
And
buy
get it
two
done.
outfits so your buddy can have fun with you as well. I side with my wife on that one. Find a way to have fun with life because it's just going to happen. You know, what life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we deal with it. And that how we deal with it comes down from a mental outlook and counting your blessings and so forth. So stay busy. Do the things that you need to do to be prepared, diversified in every way. Don't sell your assets, Mo.
Here's looking at you, Mom.
Call me next time when we sell some silver. And yeah, have fun. I read something that really made a lot of sense, which was do something that makes you come alive. And so if you can come alive in community and in supporting others, lift them up, getting there and have fun doing it, then that's the best way I think you can insulate and prepare for impact.
Yeah, I think have fun is a big one. I would add build community. I would add start growing your own food. I think both of those are really, really good. Right, control the controllable, right? Ultimately in the end. But guys, it's time for us to get out of here. But I'm going to tell you something. I appreciate you guys listening and being part of it. You know, we're learning too, and we're trying to discover too. And nothing is easy. Discernment is one of the hardest things in the world today. And so I appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming in. And we will do the Festivus tomorrow. I'll get a video out to you guys, and I'll see you in a week. Good night, everybody.
Peace.
Peace out.